if you write these two or draw these two triangles, you're going to notice this little shape here. This is a Greek letter. It is called theta. You have heard a bunch of them, I'm sure, alpha, omega, let alone in the Bible. So Greeks are the ones who discovered a lot of math. So there are times where you will use a Greek letter. Like this one is called mu. I don't know how to spell it besides what it sounds like. That has to do with statistics. There are just different letters that mean different things, and theta will always represent a missing angle. It is literally like an X. It's just a letter. It looks scary. It's a letter. So if you don't like the way that it looks on your paper, you can always write an X instead, because X is a letter, and so is theta. When you get to Algebra 2, all you will see for missing angles is theta. You will no longer see X. Okay? Is everyone okay with theta?
Have you seen something else?
I have not. Ooh, can we do this though? You can tell me about it later. All right.
Gotcha.
So what happens is you need to find the measure of an angle. From this angle, you need to figure out what kind of sides you were given. That is the number one step. So what kind of side is 13? Hypotenuse. What kind of side is 12? Adjacent. So from here, you want to go back to toa. Alright, so you need to look at which of these deal with the hypotenuse and the adjacent, and that would be ka, which represents cosine. So you write cosine, you can write angle A, you could also write theta. Whatever comes after sine, cosine, or tangent, that is the angle that you're coming from. Angle you're coming from. Why does it matter what angle I'm coming from?
Because that's the angle you're trying to find.
The adjacent and opposite will change based on whatever angle it is. So cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. What's the measure of the adjacent? 12, and the hypotenuse is 13. All right, so we're missing the angle. Anytime that you're missing the angle, what do you need to do? The inverse. So if you want to write that down, I suggest that you do. If you're missing an angle, so write it down. If you're missing an angle, you use the inverse. So that would be shift sine, shift cosine, shift tangent. It'll pop up like this, or even this. No. Those are the reciprocals. These are the inverses. I know it's a confusing set of words. So to find theta, you need to use cosine to the negative 1. That's the inverse. And you're going to type in 12 over 13. In your homework, classwork, whatever you want to say, it will tell you what to round to. It's going to be the nearest whole degree. So type this in your calculator. Write it on your paper. All right. So what do we get to the whole degree? So if you get 22.6, that rounds up. So you're going to get 23 degrees. Make sure you are personally typing this into your calculator, because when it comes time for a quiz or a test, nobody else is typing this in besides you. On number 2, we're coming from this angle again because it's labeled. Theta is right here. What kind of side is 4? Opposite. What kind of side is 13? Adjacent. So soka or toa? Toa, so tangent. So tangent, again, you can call it angle A if you want, because it is angle A. You can call it theta. It does not really matter. Equals the opposite over the adjacent. So opposite is 4, and the adjacent is 13. You're still solving for an angle. So whenever you solve for an angle, that's when you hit shift. So tangent to negative 1 will pop up. Round to the nearest whole degree. 17. Any questions on these? You're going to do some by yourself. So hopefully you got these. Let me know when you're good. You good? You guys are going to do these too. Alright, so on the left problem, what kind of side is 9?
No, that's
That's hypotenuse. What kind of side is 6? That's the adjacent. So ka or toa? Ka, so that's cosine. Will equal 6 over 9. We're solving for an angle, so what am I going to type in now? The inverse. So shift cosine into your calculator.
First 48.2.
So we're rounding to the nearest whole decimal.
Okay.
Or whole degree, sorry.
Thanks.
From angle A or from theta, number 4, what kind of side is 11.9? Opposite. What kind of side is 10? So which trig function are we going to use? Tangent. That's theta equals 11.9 over 10. Shift tangent. So hold on, I haven't even typed it. Hit enter, you do get 50 degrees. Questions on this? You have about 25 problems that look like this on your classwork. So we're all good with this? We're all squared away? Okay. We are going to now find sides. Go ahead and draw both of these. You don't have room on that whole paper? Oh, that's right. You do. That's okay. You can flip it on the back.
Miss Marshall, we just do everything we done last year.
Yep.
What he said?
It doesn't matter what he said. Focus. So in this problem, both of these problems, you're given angles. You're given an angle, and you're missing a side. When you're missing a side, you will never hit the shift button, ever. You will only hit the shift button if you're missing an angle, and we are not. We use the angle that they gave me. What kind of side is 4? Opposite. What kind of side is x? Adjacent. So which trig function are we going to use? Tangent. From what angle? 41. If you know the angle, you need to write it. We only write a letter when we don't know the angle, and here we do. The opposite is 4, and the adjacent is x. So solving-wise, you can't multiply both sides by 4, so I taught you guys a little trick. Flip both sides. So 1 over tangent of 41 equals x over 4. What is this 4 doing to the letter x? Dividing. What's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. So you're going to multiply both sides by 4. We do. So on the right, the fraction will cancel out. On the left, you need to type this into your calculator. How are you typing this into your calculator if your calculator's closed? So you're typing in 4, and you can put a little time symbol if you want. 1 over tangent of 41. You do have to close the parentheses, or it will tell you syntax error. Oh, we'll round to the 10th here. If you have already finished this one, you can go ahead and move on to the next one and try it, and I will go along with it. Once you have typed in the left side, what did we get? Yeah, we did. 4.6. It's okay. You'll see the only reason I'm doing this, I think George is the one who said that. On the homework, when you're finding an angle, it asks you to round to the nearest degree, the whole degree. When you're finding a side, it says round to the 10th. That's all. On the second, from 57 degrees, what kind of side is 10.8? Opposite. What kind of side is x? Hypotenuse. So which trig function are we going to use? Sine. So co doesn't exist. Ka, like CAH does. So the first part is so, S-O-H. So sine from what angle? 57. Equals the opposite, which is 10.8, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Again, x is on the bottom, so what do I need to do? Flip both
Flip it,
sides.
put it to another,
Flippy
to another.
Once I flip both sides, what do I need to do next?
You divide it.
Nope, it's already being divided. Multiply. So we're going to multiply by 10.8. Oops. So that we cancel out the denominator on the right. Type this in your calculator, round to the nearest tenth. Write it down on your paper. Don't say it out loud yet. All right, what did we get? What is it? 12.9. Questions about this one? Uh-huh. All right. These are your two. You're doing these by yourself. Zoom.
Hold on, I gotta go look at that.
Oh, we didn't need that one because of the.
What did I not need?
Because he flipped it.
Oh, why would you flip it if 5's already on the bottom? We only did it.
Oh.
You said, little bro.
So wait a minute. That was supposed to be.
I don't have any tissues. Please sit.
Yes, sir.
Not this second.
So the only time we flip is if the bottom up.
The only time you flip it is when the number's on the top and the letter's on the bottom, yes. Yes, Will.
When it's okay, so 5 was.
Like if it looked like this instead, 5 over x. You can't multiply both sides by 5, or that would turn to 25 over x. That wouldn't help you solve for x.
Yeah, I'm saying, what was the, so 5 was the adjacent one, that's where I missed up. I thought it
Yeah.
was,
So whenever you are discussing whether something's opposite or adjacent, turn, like if we're finding this angle right here, turn your paper, like turn the angle towards you, and the side that is directly across from you, that would be your opposite. That makes sense. So if on your paper, like if this is your triangle, so you're looking, that's not a triangle, but
no, I'm talking about, because I have.
okay. So if you're looking for, like pick what angle you're looking for.
Yep.
All right, so point that angle towards you. So turn the paper that way. The side that is directly across from it, that is the opposite. Does that make sense? Number 12, from 60 degrees, what kind of side is 11? Hypotenuse. What kind of side is x? Adjacent. So which trig function? Cosine of 60 equals x over 11. Do we need to flip here? No, we don't. The number's on the bottom. It's divided by 11, so we can multiply by 11. So then, what do we get? Like 5.5? I think it was. What is it? Yeah. All right. So now we're going to practice some word problems. Here's what I want you to draw. Draw a right triangle. We're going to have a whole lesson on right triangles and word problems, but draw this. Okay. So in right triangle word problems, they use the same basic words. The bottom of this triangle will always be the ground, or it could be the distance from an object, but in the two examples we're going to do today, it's going to be the ground. You had this on your quiz. This side will always be the height of something. I suggest you write this down because you're literally about to do one by yourself, and it uses these words, and most students get them incorrect because they're not writing. So write it down.
Does that say on the side?
Yes, you do. You got a big blank spot at the top of the page.
Right.
It's just not lined. Okay. It'll be the height, or it could also be a building. Because buildings need to make 90-degree angles with the ground. The hypotenuse. For some reason, most students want to use the hypotenuse the most. The hypotenuse is leaning, correct?
Right.
Okay. So you're never going to find the height of something by it leaning. When you go to your doctor's office, they make you stand completely straight up, correct? So that's how you find the height of something. It will never be a leaning over object. If you need the distance to something, like if I need to go to the back of the room, I'm not going to go to the door part of the back of the room. I'm going to go straight in front of me to the back of the room. So, if you notice, I drew a ladder because normal people, they climb up ladders while they are angled like this, tilted. So a ladder, also a string, I'm basically giving it away right now on the one that you're going to do by yourself. So make sure you're writing this. String, like you're going to do one about a kite. And kites have string. What else is there? A shadow. But these are the main two. Ladder and a string. Alright. So, we're going to do this example. I'm going to erase this picture. Okay, cool. We're going to draw. In order to unload clay easily, the body of a dump truck must be elevated to at least 45 degrees. So I'm going to draw a dump truck. Alright, dump truck. There's a man there. I can't draw that small. There you go. Boop. Hi. There I am. Okay. The body of the dump truck is 14 feet long. So when it talks about the body of a dump truck, it's talking about the part that owns the dump part. I didn't draw the dump part for a reason. So the body of the dump truck is 14 feet long. So when it talks about the length, it's always going to be the horizontal side. It will never be the hypotenuse and will never be the height. And then it says, it has been raised 8 feet. So the top is 8 feet, the height. Will the clay pour out easily? Well, what kind of shape have we been dealing with? Right triangles. Do you see one yet? Not really. But also, what kind of truck is this?
Dump truck.
It's a dump truck. Do you see the part where it holds the dump? No, not yet. So here's why. Well, here's what it does. This is all the stuff. Y'all see? So here's what happens. There's clay in it. In order for the clay to unload easily, the body of the dump truck must be elevated to at least 45 degrees. So where is the right angle in the picture that I have drawn?
Right there.
Right, man.
The bed and the cab.
Yeah, between the bed and the cab, that's the right angle. Which angle of the two that's left looks like the angle of elevation?
Down, right, down, to the right.
To the right, down and to the right. So we're looking for this angle. It needs to be at least 45 degrees in order for the clay to come out easily. So, do we know how many degrees it is tilted to right now?
No.
No, we don't. Do we, as trigonometry and geometry students, do we know how to find that angle?
Yes.
Yes, we sure do. From this angle, what kind of side is 8 feet? Opposite. What kind of side is 14? Adjacent. So which trig function deals with those two? Tangent. We need to name our angle. What would you like to name the angle? You said J? You said something else. I don't care. We're going to call it J. Equals the opposite, which is 8, over the adjacent, which is 14. What are we solving for here, a side or an angle?
Side.
Angle, I lied.
We're solving for an angle. If you're solving for an angle, are you going to hit the shift button?
Yes.
Yes, this is the only time you do. So angle J, you're going to hit shift, tangent. Eight over 14. Just tell me the number. Do not tell me the final answer. Just tell me what you get. 29.7. So listen. All of you are at least 15 years old. Am I correct? What does at least mean? Oh, all of you are at least 14 years old. What does at least mean? That the lowest number is 14. So when it says, focus. When it says it needs to be elevated at least 45 degrees. So it could be 45, it could be 50, it could be 60. Is 29.7 at least 45 degrees?
No.
No. So will the clay come out easily? No. So no, your reasoning, the angle is, what is it? 29.7 degrees. That would be your reasoning. Well, you need to have proof. In math, you don't just guess. You see what I'm saying? here's the one that you are going to be doing. You go to the park on a windy day to fly a kite. Now think about this. Most of you have never flown a kite, apparently. When you fly a kite, is it straight above you?
No.
No, that is physically impossible. It's always off at a distance, angled, because that's where the wind takes it. Okay, apparently it's very windy for this kite. You have at least 40 feet of string. Think about where I told you string would be. The string makes a 50-degree angle with the ground. How high is the kite in the air? You guys are going to solve that. Draw a right triangle and solve with trig. So you're in a park. So here's the park. And here's you. It's an ugly looking person. Here's a ball cap because it's your day off. You're flying a kite. Again, kites don't fly straight up. They fly at an angle. All right, and it is 40 feet of string. 40 feet. The string makes a 50-degree angle with the ground. 50 degrees. How high is the kite in the air? So always, height and the ground will always make a 90-degree angle together. So you need to figure out which trig function to use. What trig function should we use? Sine. Because x is my opposite and 40 is my hypotenuse. So sine of 50 degrees equals x over 40. Multiply both sides by 40. You do not get 52.2. You get 30. What is it, 30.6? Yeah. 30.6 feet. Did you do exactly what I just did? Yeah. Tangent would be opposite and adjacent. All right. So you're going to be handed a worksheet now.